We're live on YouTube. And go ahead. Good morning, everyone. This is the special meeting of the Village Council of Ruidoso. It's June 29th, 2021. It's 8 a.m. And if you'll join me for a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. Roll call, please, Mr. Sena.
Good morning. Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Salas.
Here.
Councilor Lutterman.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius. Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And Councilor Lutterman is joining us. Sounds like from the showers of the RV park in Maine, United States. So anyway, we'll move on with item number one is ratification of land lease. Might have to mute that, Susan. Oh, did you? Item number one is ratification of land lease assignment by and between the Village of Ruidoso, R.D. Hubbard Enterprises, Inc., and David M. Stevens for ground lease, 30-year option, and lands at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. Yes, sir. Does anybody have any questions? Ron?
Mayor, members of the council, this lease agreement provides the village with to agree with the assignment of the lease. This is just moving forward with the process that we did at the May 11th council meeting.
Any questions?
No?
Okay, we'll have a roll call, please, sir. Want a motion first?
I'll make a motion. Mayor, I move for the ratification of the land lease assignment by and between the Village of Ruidoso, R.D. Hubbard Enterprise, Inc., and David M. Stevens for ground lease, 30-year option on lands at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
Councilor Lutterman.
She's muted.
Do you have her unmuted? Councilor Lutterman.
Aye.
Aye, there you go.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number two is discussion and possible action on adoption of Resolution 2021-28, a resolution approving the acquisition of real property located at 603 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico, in Lincoln County. And this Samantha, is it Samantha?
Samantha.
Yeah, and pretty happy with this one, aren't we, John?
Yes, as long as we don't try to build an apartment building.
As long as we don't try to do anything with it.
Good morning, councilors, mayor. This resolution brought before you all is for 603 Meacham Drive that we approved prior. We had a consensus, and now we're bringing before the resolution to purchase.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we had an amendment to the resolution. We've added Mayor Pro Tem Salas to the resolution, and also granting authorization to execute any documents required for the acquisition of the property.
Okay. Appreciate it. And thanks to the Mayor Pro Tem for doing that for us.
No problem.
We'll be, yes, sir?
Mayor, I just want to bring it out that we are paying for this out of the Housing Trust Fund is our recommendation.
Out of the Housing Trust Fund, is that
That's
$1 million?
That's correct.
Okay.
Unless the council wishes to pay for it out of any other area, but my recommendation's pay it out of the Housing Trust Fund.
Okay.
Right.
So we weren't looking at holding that for the possibility of the hotel with the Chelsea?
We could, Mayor, and we still have other options of funding it as well.
Okay.
Well, will we be able to reimburse the housing fund some way to, if one of these other projects?
Mayor, my recommendation is that we keep that property in the Housing Trust Fund, and then if there's another project that comes up, then we would recommend to put additional funds into that. There's a couple of things that, I'm working on with.
Recovery Act?
Yes, with the Recovery Act and whatnot, so I believe we're going to have additional dollars.
Great.
But, if there is another proposed low-income housing project that does come up and we're asked to participate, I would recommend that we put additional money in at that time. So that'll leave a $250,000 balance in that fund. And I think there's a little bit more than that probably, but, we've also have an RFP that we have ready for the next council meeting to look at qualified developers and/or other developers that may propose to either build or acquire property from the village of excess property that we've listed. Samantha and several of the directors have been going through all the properties that we hold and have identified them either, as open space or parks, or if they're not identified in that manner, then, and we don't have an identified use, we're going to be bringing that list to you. What's interesting is that there was a 11-acre tract in
9.3 acre tract of Highway 380 in Lincoln.
Lincoln that was kind of interesting
That we own?
that we own. So it's kind of a surprise to us, but we didn't know about that. But we are going to be recommending that an RFP go out. And then with this property that we're acquiring, my intent is to make a recommendation that would hold it in trust and come up with a creative approach. I'm going to be working hopefully with Zach, Ron, and Judy in the upcoming weeks to actually come up with a creative approach for that property and, be consulting with several of the state agencies to make sure that we have the authority to take on a creative tech project.
Like growing marijuana over there. Everybody's looking for land. Yeah.
Not that creative, but
I don't know why we would own it for. I'm sure
That
there's a
property
reason.
you mentioned on 380, I believe, there's a FAA marker beacon there. And we also did something that allowed for a waste transfer
dumpster?
station, the dumpster
Yes.
at one point.
Yeah,
How we
yeah.
acquired it, I don't know, but I remember we talked about that at some
Yeah,
point.
I thought, I didn't know it was 9 acres. I thought we cut it down to just a little area.
Well, the leased out portion we cut down, but
I think it's fairly steep, too.
it's probably unusable.
Yeah.
Samantha got us another one like that in Black Forest.
Well, I thought we turned it down.
Did we,
Black
or did we
Forest?
get that one?
The one that was built on the side of the
we
mountain.
turned one down that was up there. I know
Oh,
that.
good.
Yeah, we couldn't do anything with it.
We have one on Westminster. It's pretty steep.
Okay, so,
Mayor,
what's that?
is that motel still in play? I saw it has a different name on it now.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a project that Chelsea is looking at right now as well.
Okay.
And it's just, you see all the signs out there and the difficulty everybody's having getting people back to work. And I think it's twofold. You have first that payment that's going out that I hope ends soon, the additional $300 so that people get back to work. And then you have a shortage of housing, of long-term housing. And, I think we really need to put a strong emphasis on creating some long-term housing in this community. So there's several different strategies we're going to be working on, and the one that I'm not talking too much about because it's speculating, but I think is a creative approach that's gonna help open up some things. So, and I'll fill the council in more as I develop the project.
it's the property owner's right to move housing into short-term if they wish to. However, every time I see it, it's almost like weekly, somebody's taking a long-term housing, property and moving it into short-term, and it just kills me every time because we're so tight on housing and the prices are going up. And it's almost to the point that rather than renting, just buy the stupid thing. Your payments are going to be less, but people don't have the credit or the down payment to be able to afford to do that. So it is something that we definitely need to work on is getting some affordable housing for our workforce. I agree that $300 stimulus, I wish we would jump on, the state of New Mexico would jump on what other states are doing and just turning it down and saying, no, we won't do it. Because, there's a discussion saying that it's because people aren't paying enough money. Well, that's not it. I mean, look at some of the positions we have within the village and the state has. Those are good, high-paying jobs with great benefits, and we're having difficult times filling them. Whatever the reason is, but here in Ruidoso, I mean, it's getting to the point where if you can find a place for $1,000 a month, you found a cheap place, and that's not a very great place. So we need to do what we can, and I hope that others in the community realize that. And
You talking about realtors?
no, I'm just talking the population in general, because every time we've had an idea, then we get all kinds of pushback.
From the realtors?
No, not just the realtors. It's in general. I don't want that in my neighborhood. Well, those people are already in your neighborhood.
Right.
Those are the people that are serving you at the restaurants. Those are people that are, at the grocery stores and at the food places and everywhere else. You can't equate workforce housing with slums. It's not, they're two different things. So I hope that as we move forward with some other projects and some ideas we have, people won't, give us too much pushback and allow us to continue to do it.
Well, Tim mentioned it at the Chamber of Words banquet and got a big response, from the people that were in the audience. They had a lot of people there. And everybody is always for it until they're against it.
So it's down the street for me, yeah.
So we're going to have to work. And there's a lot of things that are working on and stuff that we've checked on and the surrounding communities and different things, other options. So,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I think part of it is we need to publicize some stuff more, like the ADUs. I've been talking to the realtors, some of them. They didn't know you can do that. The apartment in your house a lot of people just don't know about that. And either one of those, they have to be long-term,
Yep.
and they would cash flow. And Anthony sent out an email asking some of his clients down there if they'd be willing to rent rooms to college students. So, but people haven't heard of any of this yet. So I
Yeah.
think we need to talk about it.
Yeah. But Mayor, on this particular property, the concept would, utilize the housing trust fund and holding it in that fund. So, I would recommend that we purchase that property through the housing trust fund.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We talked
too.
briefly about it the other day, and I think that's a great idea.
Any other? Okay, roll call, please.
We need a motion, Mayor.
Oh, motion, please. Well, I'm pushing fast today.
Mayor, I'll make a motion. I'll move to adopt Resolution 2021-28, a resolution approving the acquisition of real property located at 603 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico, in Lincoln County, and using the Housing Trust Fund to purchase that.
Second.
Final
One-
discussion?
One request, Samantha, can you send us the list of all the properties that you've compiled? Yes. Thank you.
Because I thought we'd done that once before when we were
I thought so too, but I
working for
couldn't
the
find
workforce
it.
housing before. And that property came up, and that's when how come we're remembering, it had something to do with the transfer waste and,
Yeah, no, there was a lease
on
that, and then there was also something about that FAA
yeah.
marker that's out there.
Mayor, we did, when I was in community development, we went through that process, of identifying all the properties, and we've just gone through it again, and I think the directors have identified a few opportunities that we can look at,
Okay.
so.
All right. Thank you. Did we have a roll call, please? Yes, you did?
No.
No.
Okay. What is wrong with me?
Counselor Coughlin?
That's just a long
Counselor
list.
Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman? Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Now on to item number 3, discussion and possible action on sub-grant agreement, SGA amendment extension for project worksheets PWs, PW 94, PW 95 V3, PW 98 V3, PW 103 V2, PW 103 V3. I've never heard of any of these. PW 111 V3, PW 113 V3, PW 117 V3, and PW 155. I have heard of that one. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Here to pick up some keys.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Before you are the sub-grant agreements for each of our open PWs that we have to include Close Road Bridge. One thing I do want to bring to your attention is that in the body of the agenda memo, it looks like PW 98 was inadvertently left off. It is attached, the documents are attached, but in the listing, it looks like it's not included because we have 6 remaining bridges after Close Road. So if you'll notice on these sub-grant agreements, they're only through June 20th, June 2020. What you'll see in the body is that Department of Homeland Security is a little bit behind on their paperwork. We have already gotten approval from FEMA for our time extension through June 2021. We've already submitted we're in the process of submitting our extension for 2022, but this is a catch-up for Department of Homeland Security. It's been quite a while since we've gone through this process, so I have Phoebe here to kind of give us a highlight of where we're at and how we got to these different versions. And Mayor, to address what you were saying, the versioning of the sub-grant agreement versus the versioning of the PW. And that's what this is in reference to, the sub-grant agreements.
I recognize the amounts.
And a little bit behind, you're saying that they've already approved the next one, which expires tomorrow.
Correct.
Like, my goodness.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, board members, village council, staff, village manager, and other honored guests here today. I appreciate the time to go through and walk through this complicated administrative paperwork that we are presenting to you today. We had talked with the village manager last week, and we just wanted to also remind everybody, kind of walk back a little bit, just to, remind us how we got here with all of these versions and this paperwork in terms of what we call the sub-grant agreement amendments.
Mayor, is Adam available? Where's Adam? He's on? Okay.
I'm on, Tim.
I'm just asking, Mayor, because, as we go through the process, if there's any questions of, why we picked a particular type of bridge for that, Adam was involved in that. But, I want to make sure, and as we're talking about this, I said, we better put this on the agenda, fully inform the council, because it's a substantial change from what it was previously. So, Phoebe, as you go through this, I want to talk about the bridge type and why we made that recommendation on each one as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim, village manager. So as we all know, disaster happened in 2008. Immediately after the disaster had happened, if you recall, in late 2008, 2009 to 2010, a number of the bridges that washed out were re-put back with box culverts or interim semi-permanent measures. And so, and in that process, between 2009 to 2014, there was an obligation of bridges. And back in those days, it was if you were over a certain dollar figure threshold, they would be categorized as what we call large projects and paid out on actual costs. And so we had a bridge that actually fell into that category. It was executed and then versioned after the bridge was completed, and that was Eagle Bridge. So initially was obligated for about $100,000. And in the end, it was over $2 million that it was paid out on actual costs. And another bridge that was also versioned on that same pathway of prefab, which is the context bridge type that was on Eagle Bridge, and then what was defined for Close Road. When change of administration happened at the state and the federal level, they took a look at Close Road, and the intent was to just do all prefab context bridges for all the remaining bridge. That was the thought. The remaining ones that were not obligated as of 2015 were McDaniel Bridge, Main Road 2, Coyote, Sleepy Hollow, River Trail, Robin Road, and North Loop. And so since those were not obligated, and then we started to execute on Close Road, which was obligated with a prefab context bridge type, FEMA started to ask the village, well, why are you doing that type of bridge? We didn't, we know Eagle was done that way. It was very expensive. It wasn't back to, as FEMA defines it, as the pre-disaster form, function, and capacity. It actually was an upgrade. And so when the new FEMA administration was looking at it, as well as the state, they said, okay, you've already got Eagle and Close Road approved and obligated. It's already in black and white. So we held FEMA and the state to that. The village was going to do the prefab bridge for Close Road. So we went back, finished the Close Road engineering design, if you recall a few years ago. We finally executed that last year, implemented and constructed that bridge. But in order to then obligate the remaining bridge, we went into this cycle with FEMA between 2017 and 18, where we had numerous meetings with FEMA and the state regarding the prefabricated bridge type. And the use of that, and what FEMA was saying, that was an upgrade on some of these other bridges like McDaniel, North Loop, Main Road 2, Coyote, Sleepy Hollow, River Trail, Robin Road. So what we collectively, between the Village of Ruidoso, FEMA, and the state, between 2018 and 2019, agreed to was having NMDOT as a quote-unquote expert, subject matter expert, a third party that would provide technical guidance and recommendations on what type of bridge that would be acceptable, back to looking at that pre-disaster form, function, and capacity for each of the bridges. So that, what's called a bridge type selection report, is what the New Mexico Department of Transportation ended up developing and providing to FEMA and the state and to the Village of Ruidoso. That finally got finalized in early 2020. And so we went into a cycle now that we had the bridge type selection, we could then develop, along with FEMA, the actual scope of work for the project worksheet that will be revised. And that was very important to protect the Village of Ruidoso and to ensure that the obligation of increased funding would also match the scope of work. We learned from the implementation of Eagle Road as well as Close Road, all of the associated costs to developing, constructing, and finishing out those projects. So we wrote the scope of work along with FEMA, and it was back and forth to ensure that all of those individual line items, as minor as SWIP compliance, environmental permitting, easements, all of those other costs would be written into the scope. And so now what you have before you is now the finalized project worksheet amount that was approved by FEMA that aligns with the scope of work. Always with the knowledge out there that the project will be paid out on actual costs. So this was really important as we were kind of going through the details on the scope of work. Because if there was not a line item or a scope of work defined, it may not be eligible. So we really fought hard to ensure that the black and white, all of what we knew was associated with the cost for Eagle and Close Road would be included in every single of the bridges. That reminds me, we did have, in 2019 and 18-19, FEMA looked at two bridges, and those were Main Road 2 and Coyote. We went out to Coyote with Adam and other staff members to look at the structural integrity of Coyote Bridge, along with the bridge experts. Coyote Bridge actually was whatever the staff did back right after the flood actually was really structurally sound in terms of Coyote Bridge. So based upon the bridge inspectors and the engineers, they actually said Coyote Bridge actually meets specification and is better than what it was before, because we looked back at old bridge inspection reports. So Coyote was actually de-obligated. We did not go forward with a project worksheet for Coyote Bridge. Main Road 2 was another unique bridge because FEMA had actually removed it and de-obligated it because FEMA determined in their review, upon looking at all of the scopes of work, that it should have been defined as a federal highway bridge. And so we appealed that. We appealed that in 2019. We fought that decision, and we developed and came here to the council to update you all on what we found in that there was an iteration between 2008 and 9 to now that actually did put it on the federal highways list of bridges, but at the time of the disaster, it was not on that list. So at the time of the disaster, it was still eligible to be paid out by FEMA and to be supported and funded by FEMA. So that one got put back on, obligated again, and so that was actually something in the benefit of the village of Ruidoso, that we were able to ensure the eligibility of Main Road 2, because that's a critical bridge, especially for Upper Canyon. So I forgot to note that in the chronology. So as we move forward now, what you have before you are the subgrant agreements and the amendments. So the way it works is the project worksheet gets approved by FEMA. Then the village of Ruidoso is a subgrantee, and we're a subgrantee to the state. So that gets approved between the state and FEMA. And then as the subgrantee process rolls out, is the subgrant agreement is between the state and the village of Ruidoso. And so what you have in front of you is that amendment to then bring everything up to date on the approval that between FEMA and the state on the scope of work, the increased obligation of all the bridges, and then also to Councilor Coughlin's comment, is trying to start the administrative process that the state needs to follow in order to correctly and accurately document the time extension. So if you recall, for FEMA, we do time extensions on an annual basis for what we call permanent work. And those are, bridges is in that category of permanent work. So we're looking at another time extension. I was just talking with Karen today. We'll be talking again with the village manager about the latest time extension that we hope to submit by today or tomorrow. And then we'll have another sub-grant agreement to extend it. We also, I should mention that over the last year, we've been asking, once the bridges got approved, we've been asking for the sub-grant agreements, amendments, the SGAs, how we refer to them. The state was going through an iteration with a new administration of how to write sub-grant agreement amendments and sub-grant agreements. We actually had to go back and forth because we didn't want this body to sign off on old project worksheets that were completed between 2008 and 2018. And what the versions that they provided us, the initial drafts, had all of those other project worksheets, with this body having to say, oh, we agree to all of this, when we weren't certain how projects were implemented in 2008, 2009, all the way really to 2015 and 16. So Karen was really a good advocate for the village on saying we cannot have the current leadership having to attest to what was done in 2008 and 2009. So that was a lot of back and forth. We finally got through to the state, and they finally submitted a revision and the final draft in early June, which brings us to today. So long story short, that's what you have in front of you. We have various versions. You will see there's multiple versions for Main Road 2 because of that de-obligation and then the re-obligation. So you will see a little bit more on Main Road 2 in terms of the various versions of the sub-grant agreement.
So where does it talk about the construction? I didn't see that. I see the girders and all that. So is that implying it's a built-in place instead of the box?
Correct. So we have the steel girder. So to village manager's point, let me get into a little bit of the bridge type selection report. We did ask the engineers that were doing the bridge type selection report to consider the prefab bridges, especially for like Main Road 2, where.
And that's how Main Road 1 was chosen in Eagle Creek, was because of the expedition of being able to get it done quickly and timely, because of that's a main artery, the only way basically in and out. So that's where that bridge determination was made. And when you said something earlier about they were wanting to know why, we didn't go back with why. What we had before, it was because the determination made it would be more cost-effective and to the community if we did those. And so that's where that information came to. So the rest of these will all be built in places?
Yes, for the most part. Main Road 2, we also included, as you will see if you delve into the actual scope of work, bypass and other considerations as well for those bridges that we know will need a bypass during construction as well.
So finally, we'll make use of those box culverts over there by Plant 4.
Where would those go?
They'll be the bypass, the temporary, especially on Main Street to Main Bridge 2, Main Street Bridge 2.
Phoebe, go over each one of them if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
We had Cornelius wants to.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Mayor.
You had said on one of the other ones, we were supposed to put them back to existing. So Sleepy Hollow in particular is barely a one-lane bridge now. Are we going to put it back like that?
Thank you for that, Councilor Cornelius and Mayor. So for Sleepy Hollow, we're going to maintain similar dimensions, except for trying to bring the other aspect, and your question brings me to sharing this other aspect on the, I guess, quote unquote, improvement of the bridges, is to make sure that we bring it up to current specification. So how those bridges were constructed decades back may not have met the current bridge and road specifications. So that was the other fight, is to make sure that we have current bridge specifications and road specifications. So Sleepy Hollow will increase a little bit, but it's not necessarily to allow a 2-lane on Sleepy Hollow. And that's also some of the considerations for the property owners that are around Sleepy Hollow. I know, for example, some of those that are on the, what would that be, the east side of the Sleepy Hollow Bridge, really want it to be continued to constrict so that it's not a fast bridge, people zooming through there. So they did have some concerns as well on both sides of the bridge of potentially expanding it to a big 2-lane. So actually, that's where the FEMA, I guess, constraints really help in saying, okay, we've got to keep it to the same form, function, and capacity, but we are upgrading it to current bridge and road specifications and standards.
Thank you.
Well, before you move on, just to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about, River Trail Bridge is located,
River Trail Bridge will be located in the original location.
okay, just tell us where that's at.
So River Trail,
Grindstone, is that the one that's by Grindstone?
no,
Behind River
It-
Crossing.
yeah, yes, Adam,
That bridge is gone?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
North Loop Road is all the way up? Okay, what about the little bridge that was just before that, between those two residences there? That the road dead ends now, and they're using it as parking. The neighbors have been told before
Oh,
that
yes.
the bridge was going to be put back in.
That-
Is it?
That's North Loop,
What's
I
that one
believe.
called?
I believe that's North Loop.
That's North Loop.
Yes,
There's two, Mayor,
two
Council, there is
Yeah, there's two bridges. There's one out by Andy Groom's house that goes all the way around to the
That's
big
right.
monster that was built in the side of the mountain. Right before that was another bridge that's totally gone.
that, to my knowledge, has not been obligated through FEMA.
Why wouldn't it have been? Because at one time we were telling those homeowners it would be put back into place because the people that own one side of the house is Dakota and Andy
Whatever, yeah.
name, and the birds on the other side, and that road just dead ends now, and they use it as parking. But those people over there have been told that was another way out, on a fire route or emergency route. And so that one's not in here. That's what I was asking. I don't see it in here.
Okay, well, Adam, do you know what area, just so I can make sure that it's not included in any of these
Yeah, I think
bridges?
so.
Mayor, Council, Phoebe, I think we're talking about the same bridge. It's right there by Andy Groom's, Mayor.
Yeah, you go across the river and it goes to, and that's our property there that he's turned back into a driveway or a parking area. So what's
Yes, sir.
the bridge just west of there?
That's the other side of North Loop, Phoebe, I believe.
Okay, so it's North Loop A and B or something?
Yes, sir.
And the A is okay?
The A is the east side of North Loop, Phoebe,
Yes,
and then
That's my
the B,
understanding.
the west side, yes. And it was that was remember we had talked about this because if we do not put this bridge back in and there's another flood, FEMA will not give us funds
Right.
to put a bridge back in or anything because we did not obligate the first time. Phoebe?
that is correct. So that's one of the other reasons why I know there's been some conflicting comments regarding that area by Mr. Groom's property. Of, those ones on the east side saying, oh, they like it because it gives them, some peace of mind where people aren't driving through. But then we have the consideration that Adam just brought up as well, along with safety. So you have two access points for those on that other side.
And that's what the people were asking. I just wanted to make sure that that is the North Loop that we were talking about. And that's why I was confused. I wasn't sure what the other bridge that is just to the west of there, or is that north? But
Are you
west,
talking about-
East and west.
Yeah,
Well, it would be west of there.
and that would be McDaniel.
Grooms's house, there's another bridge up from there. That one's
That'd be
still
McDaniel
intact.
Bridge. McDaniel Bridge.
That's McDaniel.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
And McDaniel is part of the FEMA funding.
Okay. And that's a one-lane bridge? McDaniel?
At this time, yeah, it's a very constricted, you could fit two cars at the same time, but they treat it as one lane.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't fit our two trucks across there.
No.
2 motorcycles.
Okay, thank you. It's just that area's always been very confusing.
Yes.
And I want to make sure what we've told those people is the way, and I keep repeating it, so I want to make sure I understand it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
On that North Fork Bridge there.
Sure.
You're talking about the one that's got that extreme 90 on it, right there?
Yes.
Has a major 90-degree turn there. Does that have to be upgraded to where, like, say, your big fire trucks have to have access through there or not? Because talking with Harlan Vincent back when he was fire chief, he was saying that he would like to have that replaced, but that as it existed or did exist, that they could not get any fire engines through there.
Yeah, so that was the argument, debate that we had with Homeland Security and with FEMA, is to ensure that all the bridges, all the roads were going to be upgraded to current design specifications.
So emergency vehicles will be able to,
Correct. Thank you, Counselor.
thank you.
So with that, Mayor, if, again, if there's any questions regarding the sub-grant agreement amendments in your packet, should be our summary as you wanted us to go through, if you would like us to go through that at this
I
time.
think it's important that we go through it and talk about what type of bridge for each location, and then the dollar amount, and then what's the village's share as well.
Okay, and this is in stone? Because I get so many versions mixed up that I'm not sure. So this is a final?
This is the final to proceed to design and construction, and I just, again, want to reiterate, whatever the actual costs is for this bridge project will be paid out on actual costs. But the fight was to ensure that we get that scope of work and to get additional obligation to then at least provide more upfront funding for the village of Ruidoso so that we can be assured that we can get the design done and have that assurance that we have the scope of work in black and white, to your point, Mr. Mayor.
And Phoebe, that's because we have to pay upfront and then get reimbursed, correct?
Correct. We pay upfront the total cost, but FEMA upfronts, gives the money to the state, and the state will upfront some money to the village of Ruidoso. And Judy and I, we looked at the numbers, so we're pretty, I think the last numbers, we were pretty, we were on the same page on those amounts, that what we're looking at in the review of the sub-grant agreement amendments that you have before you today.
So, question is, all this has been, now we can go to design. So what's going to hold it up moving forward? Is it going to be the capacity to build, or is it going to be the funding stream to be able to finance these bridges? Because this happened in 2008. Like I keep saying, these
Right.
kids are now in high school that were born that year. And I keep saying, by the time this is all done, they're going to be sitting here on the council.
Mayor, I think the big constraints that we're seeing right now, and, there was a big discussion in legislative finance that, not just up here, but statewide, they're having trouble even getting engineers to, respond to RFPs, and, so there's going to be, those type of problems that we encounter, and then just the supply chain of materials and whatnot is another barrier that they're seeing. So I think those are the two big obstacles that we're going to be facing. And, I think the quicker that we get moving on these and develop the scope of work and get it approved, the better off we're going to be. But, with that big infrastructure project that they're talking about letting out from the feds, that's also going to create additional supply and demand issues that are going to just increase costs and whatnot. In addition to that, the state of New Mexico is anticipating of having quite a bit more severance tax dollars that they're going to be distributing next year. So I think those are going to be the barriers that we're facing.
Okay.
I just hope though they don't get a new director, a new manager or something
And then
and then they
everything
change it.
changes, yeah.
That's why I was wondering if they're locked in too on this.
We're all locked in on the scope of work and the current obligated amount, and the fact that this is a large project.
And the fact that the obligated amount will change, obviously.
Correct, upon completion of the project. And to Counselor Coughlin's comment is, we get upfronted some of the monies, but the total amount, the total project gets built, and then we reconcile to actual costs.
Okay, so like an actual cash value replacement, okay.
Correct, Mayor. So if it's okay now to kind of proceed on the next ones, okay. So first, we have North Loop Bridge, which is PW 98, and again, in your packet. So this was the bridge that we talked about by Mr. Groom's property up in Upper Canyon. We had, again, the version 1, version 2, and then version 3. So now the new obligated amount, after everything has been reconciled with the scope of work, is $954,936. Again, it's a large project, so it will be paid out on actual cost or reimbursed on actual costs.
Do they have a time limit on reimbursement?
Not at this point in time, but we're trying to do that as long as we get it in within a quarter, which is 90 days after project construction completion.
That's the wimpy clause. I'll gladly pay you for a hamburger tomorrow.
Type of bridge, the local.
So Phoebe, I'm sorry, what was that dollar amount you said?
So that is $954,936.
Okay, in the PW that we have, it says $854,936. There's a $100,000 difference. That's the total award on page 1.
Yeah.
Right, and so let me look at that. So you're talking about what you're looking at is the sub-grant agreement?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, give me 1 second, let me scroll to that.
I think you're looking at the award and there's a local contribution, that's what I'm.
Oh, is that what's it? It's,
Yes,
it says federal, state.
correct.
Applicant share says 59.
But none of those are $100,000 even, which is the difference.
Let me get to there, I apologize, I didn't have that one pulled up. I had everything else, give me a second here.
I'm looking at PW 98.
Version 4 has it over $1 million.
Yes, here we go. Okay, apologize.
Phoebe, just for the record, I'd like you to go over what type of bridge, the total dollar amount, and then the local share,
Okay, sir.
just so we have it on record.
Okay, all right, you got it. So I'm looking at, sorry, I gotta open up my Acrobat reader's a little slow this morning, sorry about this. Okay, so for example, PW 98 is the award is $854,936. Federal share is, you're right, Counselor, sorry, I had a typo in my notes. 600, so the federal share to village manager's question is 641,202. State share is 153,888.50 cents. And the applicant share, which is the village of Ruidoso, is 59,845.50 cents.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure everything was correct because as I scroll down through it, when we get way down near the bottom, there's something that says, it's actually right before the signature page. It says the applicant hereby agrees it is the responsibility of the applicant to fully understand and comply with the requirements of the following. And then there's a bunch of links. None of those links work. They're all 404 errors.
Okay,
So
okay.
So it's like, wait a minute, how can we agree to it when we can't even go to those links and get the proper?
And I can provide the references there for you all as well. So I apologize, this is coming right from the state of New
From the state,
Mexico.
Yeah. And some of them are whitehouse.gov, but some of them are also state. So
Correct.
they're putting in invalid links into the document.
Okay, I will let them know. I just have all of these CFRs on my computer, so I know which one, but we can provide that for the counselors and for the mayor and the village manager, all of those documents that are linked and referenced in this sub-grant agreement. And as you can see, Counselor, is the amount of additional language, so this one is 7 pages. So initially, if you can think about this, they listed all of the project worksheets on the first version that they gave Karen and I, and saying that the village leadership, the current village leadership attests to all of this. So and that was probably a 6-month to a year fight with the state, saying we can't ask the current leadership to agree to all of this because you didn't have control of what was implemented, say, in 2008 and 2009.
Phoebe, so what type of bridge is that?
So this one on North Loop is the steel girder bridge.
Which is that just the rails across the metal or it's laid across and across?
Yeah,
I don't know what a girder bridge is to y'all.
It's a bridge beam.
Just a bridge beam that's just laid across?
Correct. So it's a span.
yes,
And the concrete to be laid on either side?
Yes.
correct.
Pan in the middle
Correct.
of it.
And put a what?
Pan of some kind of deck down.
Yeah, it'll be
for it.
bridge beams and then a bridge deck on top of that.
Correct. And to add to that, Mayor, is what we also really advocated for is not to have the multiple box culverts or anything in between, so that would prohibit flowing if there were, in the event of another flood in the future.
Or maintenance issues?
And exactly, for maintenance issues. Adam, did you have something to say? I think I heard you.
No, Jerry covered it. I was going to chime in on it, but Jerry covered it.
Okay, great.
Although I would imagine there'd be some type of maintenance at some point where you have to get in up underneath there and repaint the steel and so forth.
I was talking more like debris and stuff.
Debris, yeah, no, it opens it up completely instead of having small little, it's like having an open river rather than having a bunch of little hoses in there that are gonna get clogged.
So that's a girder. What's the difference between it and a expansion bridge? Because I've heard them talk about that before. I always
Mayor.
thought go ahead.
Mayor, the girder and the span bridge is like a concrete poured, like kind of like Eagle Bridge or the Close Road Bridge we did. The one issue we have with North Loop is the size of the footprint where the bridge goes. So that's why they chose the steel girder bridge, because, the height and the width of that, the concrete bridge is going to be too big for the footprint of that area.
Okay.
So both of them will be the steel beam
On the bridge,
on the bridge. So we will be doing the west bridge first, so that they have access right now.
correct.
Get that installed, and then when they do the other east one, they have the access through the west bridge.
That,
The way I'm seeing it, that would be the most feasible way to work it.
That's correct, Counselor and Mayor. What we were looking at is doing a phasing approach, starting from Upper Canyon and coming down. So we would hit McDaniel, then North Loop, and then Main Road 2, then
Now, Main
CP.
Road 2, we're not going to have a temporary bridge or anything there? We will?
We'll have to have temporary access, and I think that's where we're looking at doing maybe box culverts to the upstream side, because the downstream side is really constricted, and that's where we're working on the, exactly, and then on the sewer line project, because all of that utility footprints are down on the east side of Main Road 2 Bridge. There's the sewer line, there's other water lines, there's other utilities in that area. So we were looking at just immediately upstream of Main Road 2 to doing the temporary bypass. Is that right, Adam? I just want to make sure I
Yeah,
I
Mayor
convey.
Council Phoebe, Yeah, that's one of the, we're looking at easements on either side really. I mean, but the upper side would probably be the best.
Okay.
Great. So if there's no other questions on that, the next one is River Trail. Sorry, I'm scrolling through here. Apologize. There I was. Sorry. Okay, is River Trail, and to your point, it's going to go back into the original location that it used to be, which now, if you've driven down there, River Trail basically dead ends at the river there, and so that one has again been versioned as well. We actually, just to share with you a little bit, we went back and forth trying to look at a different location, but we fell into the issue of if we were going to do that, FEMA would only pay, they would pay for an alternate project. And an alternate project means we constrict the funding possibilities. So we went back to the original location and then again, re-looked at that particular bridge as well. Again, I believe that's a steel girder. It was increased again to $553,613. And let's see, and what else were we wanting on that? You were also asking for the village's share on that would be $38,752.90. And again, the village's shares around is 7% of total project costs. Let's see. And next is the Main Road 2 bridge. And again,
That's going to be a steel beam as well?
no, actually, this one, I believe, Adam, this one was, I think we did get the prefab approved on this one.
I believe so, Phoebe.
Yes. And we really advocated for that prefab, to your point, Mayor, is the downtime needed in order to construct the bridges.
Where is that, where will we have the construction method? I just didn't see it in any of the material.
Correct. It's in the Form 9091, and we can also provide those to you, which is the final scope of work between FEMA and the state.
Okay.
And Village Manager, do you think it would be helpful also if we provided copies of the bridge type selection report?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that as well. And that one really gives you the overall summary of how NMDOT looked at every single bridge.
I would do a summary of it, so, just talk about, like I'm saying, the bridge type selection, what it was and what it is going to be proposed forward, and then, the total cost and then the village share.
Okay,
Do a summary of those.
okay, great. So with, so for Main Road 2, that was increased to $1,080,926. That was the final estimated cost. Again, just reiterating, that will also be paid out on actual costs, which we fought very hard to make sure that we had the total costs, including the temporary bypass included in that project. So total award being $1,080,926. The federal share is $810,694.50. State share is $194,566.70, and the applicant share is $75,664.80. Next bridge is McDaniel, which is actually the bridge that is further up into the canyon. That is also a steel girder bridge. We have that new obligated amount of $878,888. This is the bridge that, again, we were looking at being in Upper Canyon. This one is also just one access point for those residents on the other side. So the bypass is also one of those things that we advocated to ensure that we made sure that we were going to have that in the scope of work. Again, total award, $878,888. Federal share is $659,166. The state share is $158,199.90. And the applicant share is $61,522.10.
Do we still have the temporary bridge, Adam?
So yes, Mayor, on McDaniel?
Yeah, I thought at one time we had another bridge that we weren't using, that was just a span metal bridge that we were going to use as a temporary. Do we still have that?
No, we have Mayor, we have the box culverts. That span metal bridge was actually cut up for Eagle Bridge for the walkway, Eagle Bridge.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So Robin Road, which is PW 113, again, this is another steel girder bridge. Total award amount is $745,711. Federal share is $283.40. The state share is $134,227.90. And so the applicant share is $52,199.70.
That doesn't add up right. Just looking at the cents, 40 and 90 and 70. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Ta-da!
My mind is working like the mayor's right now.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength though here. So this is the bridge that's all the way down Robin Road that crosses. It's not the one that goes to the private houses.
That is correct, sir. And this one actually is of great concern. We've noticed over the recent years, there's some eddying that's happening at that bridge, and it's actually eroding at the base. I know Eric Boyda and Adam have been looking at this and how to mitigate that until we could get this obligated. So that is a concern. And that Robin Road, and Adam probably can attest to this, the utilities also that are crossing and hung on that bridge are not looking the greatest.
Over there.
It is.
Looked at it a week or so ago.
It is. And I don't know, Adam, if you have anything to add about Robin Road.
Mayor, actually, Eric did do a mitigation on that site this past, right before the winter hit. Some fish habitat, and they did do some erosion control just to get us through until we can get this bridge replaced.
Thank you so much. And so that takes us to Sleepy Hollow Bridge, and that's PW 117. Total award is $556,076. Federal share is $417,057. State share is $100,000 and $193,093.70. The applicant share is $38,925.30. Again, that's another flat steel girder bridge as well.
And we'll have a temporary bridge there as well, correct?
Yes, and it is very tight in there as well on Sleepy Hollow. So we are, again, looking at the easements and how we mitigate that access across that bridge. So that kind of summarizes everything. Village manager, is there anything else that you wanted me to add?
Just on a high level, kind of, if you can give us some timeframes of design and, what's anticipated critical path moving forward?
Thank you, Village Manager. And I know we had discussed this previously, and we were talking about timeframes. So once we get everything obligated, the SGA signed, the state will then direct deposit into the village's bank accounts, the upfront money that I spoke about earlier. And I would say at that point, we can then initiate an RFP for design for an engineer for the bridges. I want to mention, we did talk about and looked at the concept of design build to expedite the building. We went back and talked to the state and to FEMA, and they noted in our approvals for time extension that they wanted to review the bridge design prior to construction. So that is going to be a little bit of a hiccup if we do design build, because we don't, if we obligate the entire contract amount for design build, we're going to have to look at the risks for the village of Ruidoso by obligating a big contract without having that approval for the final design prior to the obligation of a construction and a design build. So we did, Village Manager, we did vet that again, like I said, since our last discussion with the state and with FEMA. So that would possibly put some additional risk on the village, and I just want to be transparent in that. And if we do the normal design build, or normal design and then RFP to construction, it will then delay, and I spoke to FEMA and the state about that, and they said as long as you're showing progress, we will continue to have the request for time extensions go through the protocol on an annual basis. We just have to meet those milestones.
And the costs just keep going up and up and up.
Exactly.
So,
Most of it.
Yeah,
you said that the state would be paying up front.
Correct.
So they never paid up front on PW 155, did they? They did finally pay up front?
They finally,
Because I know that was a big issue that we were having to work with the state.
Mayor, councilors, on 155, since we were at what are they called? We were capped. It was at a capped program.
Sandy recovery.
Yeah, so we got all the federal share, all the 100%, but the state was holding back their share. They were supposed to give us 50% of their total share. At first, they had only given us a portion of that 50%. But as of last December or so, they did give us the remaining percentages that we were due. However, there is still a balance due that will be reimbursed at the end of the project that we're waiting on. So the struggle with the bridges is going to be, we will get a portion, 50% of the federal and 50% of the state shares on each bridge. However, we won't be reimbursed the other 50% until the end of the projects. So what the struggle is going to be is overall out of all these bridges, we're going to have a $500,000 match, but however, the timeline between us finishing a bridge and getting reimbursed and us starting new bridges is going to be the issue. So we will probably have to borrow money to keep us rolling unless we appropriate some money from cash balances.
What are the total you're talking about, Judy?
The total from the federal and state share, they're only going to be paying 50% on the bridges.
Yeah, and my estimates are only talking a couple $1 million.
So the total cost of all the bridges is including, let me pull this.
So you can talk about it.
So the total cost of the bridges is going to be, after we finish Close Road Bridge, is going to be, let's see.
By the time you get to construction, you should have Close Road Bridge.
4.6 million is going to be the monies, and they will give us 1.5 from, let's see, half of 3 million.
Mayor, with those type of numbers, I don't think we have to borrow money. I think we just need to set money aside.
Well, I agree. So the total figure after Close Road, you said is 4 point whatever.
Right, but that's it, that's just what's on the obligation. If these bridges go over the obligated amounts, we will get it reimbursed, but we will only get 50% of what's obligated. So like, for instance, the River Trail is now at a project cost of $553,000. If it ends up being $1 million, we're gonna have to front that 500.
That other half.
So that's the dilemma. If they stay at these prices, then we're good.
Well, they won't.
Yeah.
So we know that, and the time frames and all those things. So I mean, it's going to be. We'll have to really look at the
Yes,
financing on.
you will
these
have to look at the
see.
financing, yes.
But when you made the statement earlier that the state would pay up front, they've never paid up front. I mean, we've always had to fight for them to pay this, to pay that. And so, and we got the Sandy recovery money of what, 33 million, 32 million up front. And so on the bridges, we're not going to get that. We'll get 50%
Of the
version.
of the obligated diversion amounts.
Okay.
So if you get into construction or after engineering and the bids come in way above the obligated amounts, we'll have to front that ourselves. But if they stay close to the obligated amounts, then we won't have any issues.
I mean, it'd be optimal if we could operate it out of cash reserves.
And FYI, Eagle Bridge took 18 months to get the final reimbursement.
Oh,
Without interest.
Yes.
and then if we borrow, of course, we'll have some interest. I know.
Although,
low.
Tim, when you're talking about what your estimate is as far as what our exposure is going to be, but that's going to be spread out over years because we're not going to be working all these bridges at one
Right.
time. So in theory, it's just going to keep rolling
Yeah,
forward.
you're gonna be
but
design- yeah.
That stone's going to keep getting bigger and bigger because they take forever to reimburse. So.
And then this monies that are being proposed on the Recovery Act for infrastructure.
Mayor, I would propose that we try to get as many of these built as quickly as
Same
possible.
time.
Just, trying to phase them a little bit at a time, and then, worrying about the financial cash flow, I don't think should be a barrier to that. I think, as we look, we just financially plan and make it happen. I don't think it's that big of a, and there's going to be additional monies coming down for, road or bridges, and, that's what they're talking about with these infrastructure projects and capital outlay and things of that nature. So I wouldn't worry too much about the cash flow. I would worry more about just getting these
Getting it
projects
done.
designed and moving. Because if not, we'll be another 12 years.
Yeah, prioritize the ones
Yep.
that we need to get going, because some of them, like we were talking Robin Road, sounds like it's probably really high up there and we need to get going on it. It's like I've always said, it's funny how this is an emergency, but it takes forever to get it done.
Yeah,
You have always said that.
I have.
Yeah, I've written it down several.
we just have to look at anything that could be a potential barrier and overcome it and then just push forward.
Yeah.
If not, we'll never get these done.
Yeah, FEMA needs to change it. Federal Emergency Management, but we'll get to it when we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Council, And Phoebe? Looking at the BTSR, the Bridge Type Selection Report, for Main Road 2, just for the record, do you have the, I'm showing it is the prefab steel girder bridge.
Correct, the prefab bridge.
On
Main Road,
Main Road two.
Main Road 2, yes, it's the prefab bridge. That was the only one they approved, and that's, again, because of its main purpose.
manner.
Correct, that is correct.
I think our exposure on the hazard mitigation projects is probably higher than this.
Correct.
So, I think financially, that's something that we need to be more aware of, and we're going to have some further discussion on that here pretty quick. But, I think this is it's a big project, it's a lot of money, but it's not financially unachievable.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions from Phoebe on this? Thanks it's a walk down memory lane.
It's like
And
picking a
how,
scab,
yeah, and how difficult this has been and the discussions and all this. So it seems like that it is coming to an end, and I know that we're on the repair of the sewer line, it's almost anticlimactic to the point where we're at now, it's, one day we'll be saying that about Horton too. We got a few white elephants we're trying to eat around here.
Yeah, except it seems like every time I go to turn on Meander, then they've got it shut down again for work. It's like, come on.
Yeah, we're getting close on that one, and but we'll see. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to, again, reiterate, your support is very important on these bridges and these projects. And as the village mayor, manager said, and the mayor said, is if we can get these done sooner, we will also mitigate, as Councilor Coughlin mentioned, is those constantly increasing costs of construction. And I think lately we've all been seeing sticker shock of those increasing prices. And so I think it is expeditious to get them done sooner than later, and also to lock in those costs.
Well, I just hate that the potential of having, new elected officials and the retraining and education and, I've forgotten more than I'm supposed to know right now. That's the problem. And that it has been a tenuous process. So, okay.
Thank
Are we
you.
good?
Thank you, Mayor. And if you have any other questions, I stand here to answer them.
Any questions for Phoebe, or do we want to make a
No, just
motion?
good job, Mayor,
Thank
Phoebe
you.
and Karen and
I can't even
Adam.
imagine that you still have hair after going through all
Right.
this.
I've got a white hair here, a white hair coming in.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I
We'll have to nominate him for.
Yeah, me too. I had long, dark hair.
And you had a size 32 waist, I think it was.
That was at my heavy point.
Yeah, that was at your heavy one. Okay, so do we want a motion to approve the sub-grant agreements?
Mayor Crawford, yes, we'll need to get a motion.
From a counselor?
Mayor Crawford, I'd submit a motion to approve sub-grant agreement amendments to project worksheets, PW 94, PW 95, version 3, PW 98, version 3, PW 103, version 2, PW 103, version 3, PW 103, version 4, PW 111, version 3, PW 113, version 3, PW 117, version 3, and PW 155.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, sir.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody, and that concludes the agendas. Now we'll need to move into closed session. So I need a motion to move into closed session for item number 4, please.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make the motion to move into closed session for discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, 1015-1 H.7 NMSA 1978, and also discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, 1015-1 H.8 NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius? Thank you.
Mayor, and then if we can ask Eric